Hello, and welcome to the Comix Experience Graphic Novel of the Month Club Kids version for February 2021. It's a cold month everywhere. Everybody's cold, but we'll make you warm with a talk about a cool book. Our book this month is Oh My Gods, and we have the whole creative team here. Three wonderful people. We've got Stephanie Cooke in the light blue top. We've got Insha Fitzpatrick in the black top, and we've got Juliana Moon in the orange top. Hello, how are y'all?
Hi. Good. Excited.
Yay! So my first question always is, and I love this question: why comics? You could be doing a lot of things in your life. In fact, you do other things in your life. But what is it about comics that you like, that excites you, that thrills you, that gives you that energy and burst that comes out of you to make you want to make them? Stephanie, do you want to go first?
Sure. I think it's like a pretty straightforward answer for me. It's collaboration. It's getting to work with other people and, just spitball fun ideas around. And then you get to see your vision come to life on the page. Prose is fun. It's a lot of work too, but nothing's quite like comics, where as a writer, you put everything down and then you hand it over to an artist who interprets what you've made and, again, brings it to life. It's so much fun.
Awesome. Insha, how about you?
It's creating the characters for me, like having those characters jump out at a page and touch somebody and be like, that character is just like me, and this is so cool, and stuff like that. Like, it's the collaboration too, but it's creating the characters, getting them on the page, having an artist draw those characters that you've had and lived in your head forever. And yeah, that's
That's awesome. Juliana, how about you?
For me, I think it's about the art, you get to draw things and like animation. And I think that you can have less people working on it than animation, and it can be weirder. So I think it's cool.
Nice. Do you work in animation as your primary thing, Juliana?
No, but I wanted to. So I think that's why I come back to comics, and now I don't want to leave.
Very good. Just to remind all the kids out there, if you at any point want to ask a question, you can put it in the sidebar. Jordan will get it asked, or you can leave it as a Facebook comment on Facebook Live, blah, 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 blah. But if you have a question, ask it and we'll get to it during the show, okay? But while we're waiting for things to come in, I will keep going. And I'm going to stick with Juliana just for a second, just because of the art. Did you go to school to study for comics, to do comics in particular, or was it illustration in general, or?
No, I went to school for communications.
Okay.
But I've always drawn my whole life, and that's what I wanted to do, so I went for it,
Yeah. When did you start doing comics?
It was 2018. 2017.
Wow.
I wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to create my own story, and I did. So I wanted to create other people's stories too.
Nice. Stephanie and Insha, did you guys go to school to study writing? Did you fall into it? How did it work for y'all? Stephanie, you go first. Yeah.
I've had one of those really weird journeys where I went to school for advertising and graphic design, of all things, and left because I just didn't really see myself doing that as a career. And then I kind of wandered aimlessly for a number of years and didn't really know what to do with my life. And I'd always loved writing though. And I taken kind of like courses and I'd been telling stories of my own just for as long as I can remember. But like people just constantly tell creators, you can't make a living out of that. Like that's not a job. Like, you know, 1 out of a million people make that. Like you can't do it. And when you hear that enough, you just think like, oh, I can't pursue this. I have to find like real jobs. And so I did that for like ages. And finally, like somewhere along the way, I just started pitching short stories for anthologies and like got a bunch of rejections, but then eventually I got accepted into a couple, and that really just like made me realize that like, this could be something I could do. And I loved writing and I loved comics. So that's the long story. The short story is no, I did not go to school for writing at all.
Nice. Yeah, no, sometimes you just have to keep applying yourself and doing it, and eventually you reach the right person with your art, and they connect, and then it works. Yeah. It's not an instant process. Insha, how about you? Did you go to school for writing or anything, or what? How did you get to this point?
I went to school originally for media arts,
Okay.
Which is like filmmaking and stuff like that. And I was in a bunch of production, but I would screenwrite a lot. And then I got a job writing about comics, which kind of made me fall in love with comics, because like the process, I was just like, oh, there's so many different people, there's so many different teams, there's so many different avenues to tell stories. And then after that, I was just like, well, why don't I just try? Because I did like the same thing as Stephanie, where I went through multitudes of different avenues and being like, I want to do this, and this. And I mainly focused on like critical and analytical writing for like film, but then comics happened and I was just like, oh, I'm in love with telling stories about things that I very much know about. But yeah, that was me.
I like that. Where you said you had a job writing about comics.
Mm-hmm.
Where was that?
I wrote about comics for a number of different websites, but mostly geek.com, and I stayed there for 2 years.
Nice.
Until things, but it was so much fun, and kind of knowing, it was a good opportunity to kind of know creators, to see how they work, to kind of like hear them passionately just talk about what they wanted to do, who they were, how they get into this. And it was just like, oh man, I feel as passionate as you. Maybe I should try.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I know that feeling exactly. Well, that's awesome. So where did the idea for this, like, what's the roots? What's the genesis? Where did it start? Tell me. Whoever.
Stephanie's good at that. Stephanie's the best one at telling like the origin story.
Yeah, I've got it down. So again, like I think mentioned actually us talking that Insha and I used to like podcast. We both used to like write about comics, and we've been friends for a while now. And like we just would have these like excited conversations in like Facebook Messenger where it's like all caps, we're yelling at each other and just getting really excited about things. And I remember one day we kind of like discovered a mutual love for Greek mythology, and we just started kind of like as a joke spitballing story stuff. And then like the next thing we knew, there was like, you know, something that was like itching at us, and like that we felt had a spark of something bigger, and we couldn't really let it go. So we just kind of kept at it, and we kept developing the story. We kept, you know, just trying to pursue it. And I think our entire team, although I don't know if Juliana and I, or we've talked about this, but like Insha and I definitely have ADHD. So, you know, like it's hard sometimes getting like distracted and just kind of, you know, seeing things through. But this was something that we couldn't really let go. And we eventually found Juliana and like knew she was the artist for this project. And, we all excitedly started building it together and pursuing it. Like we just wanted to see it come to life.
Yeah, yeah. So the premise of the book for those at home who aren't, who haven't read it yet, though you should, if you haven't read it, you should. And by the end of this, I'm sure you're going to rush out and buy one. So Karen, the protagonist, has to move to Greece, and then she gets enrolled in a school that it turns out that it's a school with all the gods and goddesses of the Greek gods. So where did that essential idea come from? What led you to that as something to build on?
I don't know, like I see Insha like shaking her head. Like for me, I was like, really, I don't know if anybody else like will know about this show. I don't know if the audience is too young, but there was this show called Clone High, and Chris Lord, who did like Into the Spider-Verse, Phil Lord, Chris, I'm mixing them all up. The people who did
Phil Lord, Christopher Miller.
Yes, thank you. They had this show called Clone High that essentially was like, they developed clones of famous people like Gandhi and Cleopatra and Abraham Lincoln, and they all went to high school together. And I think kind of like that fun core concept, like kind of was the spark in my mind of like what we could do with this. And then it kind of just spiraled into something else entirely because we all love Greek mythology so very much. But for me, that's kind of where the inspiration got drawn from for the high school and Greek mythology component.
Neat. Insha? Yes.
No, same. It was like a whole lot of other cartoons that like we really enjoy, like Gravity Falls and God, what was the other one? It was another Star Versus, and I think like also a little bit of Steven Universe too. Yeah, a lot of Steven Universe, and it just combined so well that we were just like, again, with the mind just going like, do these 5,000 things, was just like, we'll take a little bit of here, and then like try to mash it together to make it something that hopefully to everybody is just like enjoyable, fun, a ride. And especially because she comes from such a mundane place. I love my state, mundane place like New Jersey, that is kind of just like going into another place is kind of just like, ooh, dear God, what's happening here? But yeah.
I love it. Stephanie, you said that you guys were developing the idea. Like for the kids at home, like what does that actually mean to develop an idea?
Well, like stories take a lot of zhuzhing to make into something more. Like there's always like kind of a kernel of an idea where it's just like, but what if? But like that's not enough to like make a story. I used to, when I was younger, just have like a concept that I wanted, and I would go try and write that out, and it wouldn't go anywhere because like I wouldn't develop like the characters. I wouldn't, kind of like write it out more because I just like didn't know how story processes work. And you would write a chapter and I'd be like, okay, this is done because I don't know where this is going and I don't know how to tell a story. And so, with this, Insha and I again developed this idea excitedly, and then once we knew it was something that we couldn't get out of our heads, we just started like really putting it all down on paper and, talking about plot points we wanted to cover, characters we wanted to add in, and just really starting to flesh it out and turn it into something tangible. So, Insha loves character development, which you should 100% ask her about in a second. But like, throwing her under the bus here. But like, so like, I would work on like certain aspects of things. Like, we would discuss things together. Like, oh, let's do like these characters. Let's do this. Let's do this. And then Insha would go and kind of just give them personality traits and add, all these layers to them to make them feel real to us. And we did that alongside kind of furthering the plot, figuring out what we wanted to talk about, and what the first story in this series was going to kind of focus on. So there's just like a lot at play. You know, you got to figure out where Karen's coming from, where she's going to, what's the world going to be like, what are the rules? As our editor liked to point out, what's the timeline? Just, you know, all these like really technical things that when you're just excited about a story initially, you don't really think about. So you take that kernel and you just, you know, put it in the microwave for a while until it turns into popcorn.
Yeah. Did you have a publisher at this point, or were you were just doing this on spec?
Yeah, we did it for ourselves at first. Like we definitely wanted a publisher, but like we had Juliana on board ourselves before we even got to that stage. We developed it. We did a pitch. We did preview pages, concept art, and the whole shebang. And we started shopping it around to comic publishers at first. We originally were going to like try and shop it as a mini series. So we did that for a little while, and we got like some interest. And then we had gotten it into the hands of a book publisher, an editor at a book publisher, and she was really interested in it and kind of then was like, okay, well, we can't really move forward unless you have an agent. So, oh my God, my cat is like doing stuff in the background. I'm like nervous.
It's all good. We always like the walk-ins. It's great.
I know. I'm like, what is she doing though? So we wound up connecting with our wonderful agent Maria, because we didn't really. This was a kind of the path we wound up seeing ourselves going down, a book publisher as opposed to a comic publisher, and we needed the guidance of an agent. And eventually that publisher fell through, but we were now on board with Maria, who from there gave us guidance and, you know, was our big advocate for getting this out into the world and into a publisher, which was eventually HMH Kids /Etch.
Neat. So Insha, I think I was supposed to ask you about character development.
That's it.
That's the question.
It's really okay. So how my mind works, I'm really all over the place when it came to doing the characters. But when me and Stephanie kind of like got out the formal kind of plots and what we wanted to do and how the book was going to move, I was just like, we should sit down and talk about like the characters that are going to come into this book, because like it's a plethora of Greek mythology characters that you could just play with. So in this realm, it was kind of just, what characters do we want to focus on? How do we develop them inside of the plot that would make it make sense? And that took a lot of me just being like, I'm going to make Spotify playlists. I'm going to make Pinterest boards. I'm going to make some notification, like some stuff, like notes inside of our script, which was so much fun because I got to give them to Juliana, and Juliana was just like, I love this. And I was just like, I'm sorry. But it's a really big, long, weird process, because I remember just being like, Stephanie, I really want to include this character. Can we include this character? Because I really, really love this character. And I don't think, like, they're like my baby. And they're all of our babies. But, like, I love this character so much. Can we just include this character? And she would be like, yes. Like, not as unenthusiastically, but just being like, I could feel this is like, oh God, Insha is just coming up with more people.
It's hard to write an ensemble in our defense, you know, adding more characters. It's so much fun to have a big group, but like the core team was like, or the core group rather, was like a lot bigger at first. And we really had to like parse it back. And that was so hard because like, again, we're huge Greek mythology nerds and we wanted to play in like the sandbox, but like we wanted it to be like the biggest sandbox possible. Like we wanted everyone. And, you know, we had to like be like, okay, what can be in the second book? What can be in future books? Wink, HMH kids, give us more books. But like, I didn't want to say no to stuff, Insha.
No, I know. It's just like this sometimes. Like I was just like, can we keep him? And then you were just like, but we can put him somewhere else. And I'm just like, okay. Like, as long as we can put him somewhere else, I'm all good.
We had to keep each other in check, you know?
I know. No, that was like the nice. I think that was also the nice part about like developing everything too, because like Stephanie would calm me down when it came to like doing characters, and then I would have to be like, she would go, "I want to do this, this, this," and then I was just like, "Well, we have to," because the notes say otherwise, and then like with Juliana, she's just perfect angel muffin, sweetie. So it's just like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Juliana, where you came in at this process. I mean, what did they hand you, and then what are your challenges with what they hand you in terms of designing characters and designing settings and things like that?
Well, that was a big question. Let me break it down.
Break it down any way you want to. Answer some of it, answer none of it. It's all good.
Oh, it's okay. I got in via Twitter. I got in touch with Stephanie because she was posting a job for some other thing, and I didn't get it, but she asked me to come into Oh My Gods, and I'm terrible with words, but I felt very compelled with the story. I was so happy when I discovered it was about Greek mythology, and I don't know how to say it. I was just very excited about the whole project. Insha keeps saying that she is like, oh, throwing stuff at me, and like, I'm sorry, Juliana, but I'm like, please throw more. I love the idea. I love the characters, and during the pitch, when we were talking about their personalities, all those Spotify playlists and Pinterest base, they were very useful to me, and I don't know, it was a lot of things that I don't know if many creators do that change it a bit, you know. I knew the vibe that she was going for like Athena and other characters before she would actually told me their stories and the background, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that was very useful. And what else?
How long did you have to do a lot of sort of back and forth to find the look of the characters, or did that come quickly to you?
Oh no, it was very quickly because she provided me a lot of information, and I did do a first round, and I gave them some options that I was comfortable with doing, and we nailed it down to like their look. And then we go to pitching, and we were initially going for a young adult audience, but when HMH got in touch with us, they wanted middle grade. And so we had to recreate them a little bit. So they were younger now. And we added some different features in each one of them. We move around with weight and height too. So
right.
Yeah. And the hair color. Artemis's hair color.
Right. So you had thought that it was going to be an older project, and then it went down to middle grade, but not down, because that's actually a really good age to write for.
Down age.
It's such a fun audience to write for.
I think it's better now because of it. I actually do.
I think Insha and I have a humor together that is very appropriate to that audience. Like, we're very silly and we like telling bad jokes. I should speak for myself. I like telling bad jokes. I like puns. I don't want to make Insha sound like she's bad at telling jokes. I'm bad at telling jokes.
I'm awful at telling jokes. Don't do that.
So, like that's an audience that you can have a lot more fun with and play around with those things. And our editor and our book designer, Lily and Andy were just like, more puns, more bad jokes, more puns. And we were like, oh, we found our people.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think you can get away with that as much in a young adult audience who want things to be like a little bit more serious. They want to resonate with the story, the romance, like the whole kind of world a little more deeply. And I think it would have been great still, but I'm really happy we wound up aging it down for this audience.
Nice. I like that. So you've made the pitch. So you put together a pitch, and it's got art in it too. It's got it was a whole kind of pack. How many pages was it?
It was 8 or 7 pages long. I don't know.
Yeah.
There were some character design that I tried to put like the vibe that we're going for. So it wasn't just like the characters, but some objects, and like Artemis and Apollo, they had a tattoo when they were.
We should have sent them in. Like, we should have sent the designs in to show you guys, but
Yeah.
they're on our
We posted
Instagram.
out- yeah.
Yeah, you can always show your screen if you're if you've got something that it's easy to do. There's a little pull down off to the side there at the bottom. Jordan tells me, and then you can share your screen if you can find it easy. If not, it's no big deal.
But anyway, it was a good thing because we're pitching a comic now, so it was good to let people see what we were imagining.
Sure. Did you have some actual pages of the comic? It's like a couple. Yeah. Which scene do you guys remember?
Oh, it's like
It was
The hallway scene.
Yeah, the Hermes
Where she
scene.
meets Hermes. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, when she first arrives at Mount Olympus, like on her first day. So it changed a little bit from what is in the final book, but yeah, it's when she first gets to Mount Olympus and doesn't know what's going on and who everyone is.
Yeah. So you pitch. You've got a couple of weeks, I'm assuming, where you're just waiting nervously, and you don't know what's going to happen, and then they say yes, and then it's like, and now I've got to make a 200-page book.
It was bonkers.
Yeah. So tell me, how do you make you got 203 pages here of story, it looks like. That's a lot you've got a blank page. You've got a blinking cursor is blinking at you right now. And you what do you do? How do you start writing? How do you do it?
We had Insha and I, how we kind of collaborated was again, we wrote the skeleton of the story together, which was basically a really, really, really detailed outline, whereas just point form plot beats, and even in some cases, some dialogue we wanted to include, things that we just found funny. So we worked really hard together to nail that down and to make sure that the story went everywhere we wanted to take it. And then I'm a relatively quick writer when it comes to just kind of scripting once we have that outline, because you're just building the script based on what you've already kind of established together. So I went in and did the loose first draft, and then Insha and I went through that together, and again, using the character architecture that Insha built, we went in and tweaked character kind of interactions, the dialogue. Insha made it more youthy. She's better at the youthy dialogue than me. So we definitely went in and just tried to make sure that the characters, Insha especially, did a lot with the characters to make sure that they were who we had built up in our pitch and world.
Yeah. Insha, do you want to give me an example of making something youthy?
Oh no.
So, like, the thing about it is I work in a library, and by this point I've had the pleasure of hearing just kids talk to each other, which is great and horrible at the same time. So and I have like nephews and nieces and stuff like that. So I'm just like, I just listen to you talk and it's exhausting. So it's just kind of just like making inside the script, it was just making each and every character one sound like the character that we build up in our heads, and then two, making them sound like distinct and different from each other. Like Artemis being an overprotective big sister is not going to sound the same as Apollo, who's just like, what happens, I guess.
Yeah. Do you have because you're doing voices and I love it. Do you have the voices in your head? Do you like?
Oh, that makes it sound weird.
No,
yes. No, but yes, that's the thing. Yeah.
Let me stretch it out, make it not sound crazy. I meant that in a non-crazy way.
No.
Like all writers, though, I think have like a little bit of that, because like you kind of talk to the characters in a way as you write things, right? Like they grow as people to you as you tell the story, and like it does make you sound a bit like bananas, but like you're just like, yeah, oh, they would do that, and like you're talking things out like with an imaginary person. Like it's
have you had and I'll let you say in just a sec, but have you had a situation where you had an idea of what something was going to happen and then you tried to make it happen and the character went, nah, that's not how it works for me?
I think like I can't think of any specific instances of that. I don't know. Insha, do you like
Artemis?
Yeah,
everything about Artemis, because everybody thought that Artemis was going to be this one way, and even when we pitched it at first, like everybody wanted her this one way where she's, mind you, like she's a very big advocate for everybody. She's wonderful and lovely, but at the same exact time, I felt like, and it's just me, I feel like when it comes to Apollo, she's very different, where she's protective big sister. Don't look at him, don't talk to him. If you say 3 words to him, I will come after you. And like, I wanted so badly, I had talked to Stephanie about it so many times. I was just like, I love her being just like, yeah, everybody, woo! But at the same exact time, just like that, she has to feel different than Aphrodite or Tina, who is also very much like that. Like, I want her to be the skeptic, you know? Because I feel like she would just be a skeptic. So when we first wrote the script, it was kind of just like, she was this like non-skeptic, and I was just like, can we tweak that just a little bit so she can be more skeptical and more just like, this girl just showed up. That's weird. Hello, can we talk about that? And it turned out for the best, but I was just, I'm so happy that we did that to Artemis.
Yeah, and like an early editor too, who was also lovely and gave us great feedback, had kind of also been pushing us towards softening her a bit. And like, yeah, like Insha said, like I think she really works as she is in the story now. And that was like Insha really sticking to her guns on the way Artemis should be in her mind.
Because like it's not realistic for like all the friends to be this one person. Like everybody, like somebody has to be skeptical, somebody has to be sweet, somebody has to just be like, whatever happens, I guess. So it's kind of just like, you need
that's the official voice.
That's the official voice for Apollo. No, I guess so. But like everybody's a little different all the time. So like it was Artemis that really made me kind of go, if like all the characters just need to have their own thing, all the characters need to have their own voice, and all the characters need to have their own agency and say, especially when it comes to situations involving each other, because
and like
little brother.
That's why it's important sometimes, to push back on like editorial feedback if you're just like really feel that passionate about something. Like it's one thing to kind of, like fight on minutia kind of character points and plot stuff, but like when you really feel like it is a core part of like the story and a character, a good editor is going to listen and hear what you're saying and have a discussion to make sure, it works.
Right.
And,
well, and on the best level, it doesn't always work this way, but on the best level, an editor is a collaborator just as much.
Exactly.
Because the editor's job is to get the best version of your story out there.
Yeah.
Whereas
Lily's
when you're creating it, you may not see things that, this part didn't work, and having somebody else go, hey, but if you tried this, can make the story better. I'm told we've got a couple of questions for kids lined up. So, Jordan, roll. Nelson Mitchell. The question is from Enzo, who's age 9. Hello, Enzo. What was your favorite part of the story to write?
Oh, I know what mine is. Okay, it's actually like a person, though. My favorite was like everything to do with Zed, aka Zeus. Like he was just my absolute favorite thing to write. And I think he's also like the one that's kind of like the most purely me. Also, just like I really loved, like Zed's a kind of problematic character in Greek mythology proper, and kind of reforming him to kind of want to turn over this new leaf and be a good dad, but like having no idea how to do that was really fun to kind of like work out, like how could we keep Zeus to his core character, who he is from mythology, but also turn him into this father figure for Karen. And that was so much fun for me to do and work on with Insha, and definitely my favorite part.
Nice. Insha, how about you?
I feel like it has to be the scene where they're all sitting in, oh my God, what's the diner that we named it?
Oh, Ambrosia's?
Ambrosia. When they're all sitting in Ambrosia's and like Karen finds out that like she might be completely different, or even just like being like, oh God, where am I? There's a Greek gods, what? And the skepticism of Artemis was the absolute favorite thing to write for me, because it felt very noirish, where it's just like, remind me again, new girl, you just showed up. And it's just like, oh, touches my heart.
Nice. Juliana, was there something that was your favorite thing to draw?
There was when Karen first got into Mount Olympus, and she's trying to not look at anything. She's just very, very shy because Zed got her chariot, and it's amazing. I get to draw the city and draw people, and she's like, "No, I won't look at it. Get me home, please."
That's fun. I like that. That was the only question so far. For now, there'll be another. I'm sure there'll be another. Cool. So you've got the script written. How many passes did you have to go through before you were like happy with it?
Ooh, that's a good question. Like, so originally we had like, I think we had like 2 issues when we were kind of still aiming to like put it into the comic market. Like we had written 2 issues of that. So then once it got picked up for the book market, we needed to adapt it to a graphic novel form. Mm-hmm. So we had to take what we wanted from that and then kind of rework the outline to change the pacing and make it a long form project, because the pacing for single issue stuff is very different from the pacing for a full graphic novel. So the first and second issue were obviously a couple of passes each, but then, we're mashing it together. And I don't know, how many drafts did we wind up doing? Like we tweak a lot in like outline form. So like we would again do that point form skeleton and then kind of like pick apart like things there, because it's easier to edit like plot beats and move things around at that stage before actually like writing the script itself. So we did that quite a bit. And then I think we probably did, I don't know, 3-4 drafts in like the long form.
Wow.
Insha, like maybe?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Right.
Like the first book I think was just 3, and then the second book was the second book was a journey. The second book I think was again 3 or 4.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it might have been like slightly more, but like we didn't have as much of that like preconceived. So like the first book had been in our heads for like literally years. Like we had been tweaking that for, I don't know, like 2-3 years and mulling that around. And then, so like we had a really good idea of what that was. And the second one though, you pitch like a concept, you pitch like a paragraph initially. And then with that one, then you you have a lot less time to develop the full story. So that one definitely was like a little bit more of like an intensive journey with the drafts. But the first one, like we got such good feedback from Lily, our editor, who like what you said earlier, Brian, about like editors also being collaborators. Like there was moments when we'd get feedback and just be like, why didn't we think of that? Like Lily's was like an invaluable part of the journey. And, I've seen like some comic people be like, oh, editors, who needs them? Everybody needs editors. They are so imperative to telling the best story you can. And like, I think we still would have liked our story regardless if we didn't have an editor and like had we self-published it. But the story that exists now is so much better because of the feedback we got and incorporated.
That's nice. So you've mentioned second book multiple times now. Does that means that there is going to be a second one coming out, or you have just written it on spec?
No, there is a second one.
Yep. Okay, excellent. Wow. And we know when this is happening?
Yeah. I'm talking too much. Juliana, you tell us.
I'm making the math here. Why did you put me on the spot?
I don't know.
But like, I think it will be the same date, but 22.
Wow. Okay. So just a year from now. Wow. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Wow.
I am working on it right now.
Okay. Like this, like today, this right now, this today?
No, not today. Not today.
Okay. All right. Just checking. So you work 7 days a week sometimes when you're in crunch.
She makes it look easy. She's actually been working on it this whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. So how detailed is the script? Are you going every panel by panel breakdowns? Are you just sort of saying, here's what happens on the page and letting Juliana figure it out? What's the script process?
Like we do, I think like it's hard because like you don't want to like completely dictate everything. Like it's a fine line for me in comics where you want to give enough stuff so you're like not making the artist do a ton of legwork, but you're also allowing room for the artist to best interpret how that panel should look.
Yeah.
Like unless like I really think something needs to be the focal point, like 100%, or like the angle, like, like I like to just kind of like tell what's going on and allow the artist to kind of figure that out. So, enough description so that it's clear what's happening and what the important things are, but to allow for interpretation, and then including as much like reference stuff as we can for Juliana. Like when we are like a face like this, and then like include like a link to like GIFs or, you know, like weird stock photos or actors and actresses and stuff. Like we do a lot of like this in parentheses and stuff in the story, I think, too, to kind of try and help.
So Juliana, when you received this script with hyperlinks and Google playlists and things, and you know, you're sitting there in front of your blank piece of paper, how do you start? What's the first thing you do when you're?
The first thing I do, I count the panels, so I have like a rough idea of what I have to do, and then I go and read it, and I adjust the length and the height, and then I just draw. I open all the links, and they are very useful, and they are so funny. The stock image is like the person like this. It's so weird. I love it.
That's great. Oh, we have a question. I'm told. Hold on. Bring it up, Jordan. Do it. From Maggie or Haya Melina, who's 11, great age. How did you choose which of the gods and goddesses were in the book? How'd you narrow it down?
I feel like this is an Insha question.
So at first, I think we kind of went through the gods and goddesses that like we were kind of obsessed with, and then like looking at that core group of gods and goddesses, like you obviously have to include Zeus, you obviously have to include like Apollo, Artemis, because like one, Artemis is Stephanie's favorite, and then Apollo just because he's such a cutie patootie, and then Athena because Athena, and God, who else is in our core group? Oh wait, who else is in our core group? See, this is the thing.
Did you say Aphrodite?
Aphrodite. Keep like, oh God, we got to do more with Dita. I love Dita so much. But like Dita, because like, you know, you gotta include like a goddess of love. So I think we just like looked at the really core Greek mythology characters that were kind of like already listed and already kind of available that would be cool in like to have in a story. And there was obviously plenty more, but then we were just kind of like, okay, we have to narrow it down. So picking that very basic core group of like, these are the gods and goddesses that people would know already. And I think they would kind of, if we made them in a certain way, they would resonate very well with an audience. So that's my interpretation of how we did it.
And I think too, it was like also kind of about like, you know, our villain, you know, has a very distinct storyline too here that requires a certain amount of finesse to kind of deal with, and characters like, you know, Dita, Aphrodite, we wanted to promote like a sense of compassion and empathy and love. And so, you know, having her there was something that felt right. And then, you know, Athena is like the Velma, like the Scooby-Doo Velma, and her kind of being there to help Karen learn more about Mount Olympus and the world and act in this kind of tutor sense felt like, you know, appropriate and like it really fit and would help Karen settle into this new world. And, you know, Artemis having that kind of aggressive, I'm just jumping Scooby-Doo, we're going now to D&D, but like, you know, so
I am
like,
waiting
you know, that
for you to
D&D
say the Spice Girls.
Oh my God! Oh, I'm so proud of that interview still. I called Artemis the sporty spice of Greek mythology.
I mean,
and I will never not be proud of that. But like,
So let me ask the inverse question. Let me ask who's the god or goddess that you wanted to put into the story, but you just haven't been able to figure out how to fit it into what you got.
Well, again, our core cast was bigger at first. So some of those characters might make appearances in the second book.
Okay.
Okay. I'm trying to like think of like what to say because without giving stuff away.
Is there anyone that you've wanted to use who doesn't even make it into the second book? How about that? That you're saving for the third book.
Juliana. Juliana's made it very clear who she wants to see in future books in our like private conversations.
I just want to see the flowers. She's so pretty.
Yeah. She makes like little cameo appearances, Persephone, but like that's definitely something I think we all want to integrate, like Persephone. Yeah. And I don't know if anyone's quickly curious too, jumping back to Juliana's process, but I have like a little thing I can share from our screen from Juliana's process if anyone wants to see.
Sure. Always. 100%.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna just click. We're gonna just do this and hope it works. It's a bit blurry. I'm sorry if it's not entirely clear here. It's from my computer. Can you see this all?
We can see it well, yeah.
Okay. This is one of the pages here that Juliana did that illustrate her process. I don't know if you want to talk about it, Juliana, what it is, but
I don't know. I just feel sorry for Andy. Look at that sketch. How can she understand what I'm trying to do? But anyway,
well,
that's it.
Yeah, the first one is like the thumbnail stage.
Yeah.
So that's like the first pass at the art, right, Juliana? And then like that's just to kind of lay out the page and like what's going to be
so
there.
They can understand what I'm trying to do, and they can, guide me. Maybe try another angle. Maybe I don't know. There is a scene in book 2. But I'm going to say it anyway because it's pretty cool because Tina is trying to use a cell phone for like the first time ever. And I draw it like you text on your cell phone, normal. So Angie came to me and she say like, hey, maybe try making her use it like your mom would use it. So you use it like this. And was trying to use it like this, and that's so perfect. It fits the character so well, and I didn't thought of that, but it's perfect.
Yeah. No. Let me ask you a question about your thumbnails. Do you lay out the whole book? Do you do scenes at a time? Like, how do you work, Juliana?
I lay out the whole book.
Okay. And are you because that looks like it might be pen and paper maybe, but or do you work digitally only?
No, it's digital. Yeah.
Okay, even your thumbnail.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first thing I thumbnail, and then later on I ink the black pages, and these go for publicity. Yeah. But then I go and thumbnail the whole book, and then Andy goes and they talk to Lily and some other people at HMH, and they try to keep me in check, some little things that I didn't put from the script, and some little things that they think would make the book better. And then I go to inks, and then Whitney comes in and she makes it beautiful.
Yeah. No, it looks
final thing is beautiful colors.
Yeah. Very nice. They are very nice color too. Jordan, do we still have another question? There's so let's get, because we only have 5-10 minutes left, something like that. So Maya C, why was Medusa reborn, and why did Zed not get reborn?
Ooh. Well, they choose, like we made it like a story point where, you know, in a very godlike fashion, they get bored sometimes. You know, like they get bored and they want to kind of, you know, try something exciting and new. And that's not for everybody. Some people are just like set in their ways, and that's okay. You know, we're all different. So yeah, that's a very lazy answer.
I have a weird answer, and I don't know if it's if it's like the official answer, but in my mind, it feels like a me thing. I would think like Medusa kind of got reborn just because of the fact that it was an opportunity for her to kind of like start over again. Because she's been doing the turning people into stone thing forever. So it's kind of just like, maybe if I can just do this again, like I can make friends and but you know.
Well, she's also like Medusa's depicted as a villain in a lot of things, like, you know, in pretty much like all of the interpretations of Medusa throughout time, she's depicted as like this bad guy. And if you kind of just like really read the mythology, like she really drew the short straw and like had pretty much like every right to be very angry about stuff. Like was very much, you know, wronged in a lot of different ways. And it felt like a chance to, you know, give her a fresh start. Kind of.
No, I like that answer. That's a good answer. Is there another? There's one more. Oh, that's cute. Hello, guy.
Came in for the interview.
Okay, bring it up. Maya C also asks, why could the Fates not see her future?
That's a very good question. Yeah. Well, there's something they say something specific where they say her future is clouded. So I don't want to give things away because that might get expanded upon a bit down the line, but like, you know, clouded. Wink. Think about that.
Very good. Maya, you have something to think about now. That's always the best thing to do. Was that it, Jordan, or we got more? Oh, okay. You left the sign up. Okay, I got a question then. Here's my question. You've got characters who are Apollo and Aphrodite, and you know, and all of this, and then the lead or the protagonist is Karen. Was that a conscious choice? Where did Karen come from? I guess.
Okay. This was like pre a Karen, like as a thing, just for the record. So it's kind of like weirdly funnier now, I think, in my mind. But like again, Insha and I like have this excited way of talking to each other. We just kind of like, you know, when we're texting and messaging, we just kind of like shout excited things at each other, just like, this would be so fun. And we loved the concept, or I loved the concept. I hate putting words into other people's mouths, but like, you know, it was Aphrodite, Athena, Artemis, all these like Greek names. And then it was just like really fun to kind of like have this normal, like our world name come into this mix where everybody else just, that's their normal, and, you know, introduce like the US, North America normal to that and play around with how they would interpret that. So yeah. I don't know.
Very good.
Is that even an answer? I just kind of rambled. I'm sorry.
Anything's an answer, is, you know. Well, very good. I'm excited that the next book is coming. Is it going to be Oh My God's book 2? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, I'll bring up a cover. Sorry if you can hear me clicking. I'm trying not to loudly click here. Uh-oh, that didn't work. Oh no, technical difficulties. Okay, here, I'll show you guys the cover if you'd like.
Oh, we would, absolutely. Is this the world premiere? No.
I wish I could say that. It's the world video premiere.
Here we go, the world video premiere.
Yeah. So this is
Here it is, Jordan.
the cover here.
Nice. The Forgotten
Yeah.
Maze. I bet I know what that myth is.
Yeah. And I just want to give like a shout out to Andy here, who is our book designer. And in the O of Oh My Gods, there's a vase.
Yeah.
And in the first book cover and in this one, it has a hint about what, the book might be about.
Nice.
And obviously you can see, some stuff on this arcade game, and there may or may not be some pancakes in this arcade game. So yeah, like this cover is really fun. Insha, I know, loves this salmon color background.
So much. It's so pretty.
Love it. And in your head, like, how far do you think you could go? How many books could you do? Would you want to do if you could in an ideal world? Unless
6 books and a movie.
Okay.
I know. we could probably do this like forever, I think. Like,
yeah.
Greek mythology is huge.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things to cover and so many characters. Like, Insha and I have like a lot of Google Docs with story ideas, like a lot.
Nice. Love
Insha,
it.
what do you? And Juliana has opinions too about what she wants to draw next.
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to work. Okay, well, so let's close it with this then. And we hope that we get like 20 more books out of you guys. I mean, we really do, because we like this a lot. But let's close it with this. We've got a lot of kids out there who want to do their own comics. We've got, other artists and writers watch this series. So what would be your one piece of advice for people who are interested in making comics, but maybe you're not quite sure what to do? It can be something practical. It can be something emotional. It can be something even spiritual in a way. What would be the thing that you would say? Let's start with Stephanie.
Oh, I think just if creative stuff is what you want to pursue, do it. Like, I have a day job. I find time for writing and comics, and I doodle sometimes too. Like, I find time when I can. I work on the weekends. I work in my evenings sometimes. It doesn't have to be your full-time job. Just, pursue what you love and keep at it. No one gets to define what that is for you. If you love making stuff, keep making stuff for as long as it brings you joy.
I love it. I love that answer. Juliana, how about you? What do you have to say?
I agree with Stephanie. And for me, as an artist, ever since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to do comics. I've always had ideas. I've always wanted to create. And I was always like, oh no, I will draw it when I get better at drawing, when I know how to do scenarios, and when I know how to draw characters from so-and-so angle. But, I only got better at drawing comics when I started drawing comics, because you don't know what you have to work on until you were actually having to work on it, So just do it. Just create comics, just draw, just write, just do it.
I love that. Insha.
I agree with everybody. Honestly, if there's ever a time where you're just like, oh, I'm not cut out for this and I don't know if this is for me, but you still want to do it, honestly, just do it. Read comics, do comics, pretend that you were literally a comics master, and then like you'll slowly become one. It takes time, and it takes a lot of storytelling and effort and learning and adapting, but just do it. It'll be fine. And then you'll get an amazing product out of it that you'll be like over the moon about.
Oh, that's perfect. That's such a great answer. I love that. I really want to thank the three of you for joining us today and talking about Oh My Gods. And I want to say to all the kids at home, if you have been sitting through watching this, and if their infectious enthusiasm like doesn't get you wanting to read this book, let mine do it. It's a great book. You're going to have a great amount of fun with Oh My Gods. Next month's book is going to be a Marvel comic. We haven't done one of those in maybe ever, actually. It's Strange Academy, featuring Doctor Strange and a group of young teen magicians and such from Scotty Young and Humberto Ramos, who are both going to be here next month to talk to us about making comics too. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun conversation as well. But our book this month was Oh My Gods. I want to thank our guests. I want to thank Stephanie Cooke, Insha Fitzpatrick, and Juliana Moore for being part of this and making such a good book. And I'm really excited to know that there's definitely going to be a second one, and hopefully there's going to be like 8 or 10 more after that. So, yay! That's exciting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I want to thank Jordan for running the show. I want to thank my staff, Zoe and Kat and Tony, for like keeping the store running. I want to thank our sponsors at The Beat, and I want to thank you kids and everybody who loves comics for loving comics and being part of comics and just comics, right? Read more comics. Thank you so much. We'll see you next month. Have a great day.
Yay.
Thanks very much for watching this episode of the Kids Graphic Novel of the Month Club. If you enjoyed what you were seeing, please subscribe and hit the bell up in the corner. We'd like to invite you to join the club. Every month you'll get a great new book curated by our staff, and it's a fantastic program. So please join. That address is running along the bottom right now. Thanks very much.